Hello, my name is Matthew McKenzie, and today I'll be presenting my research topic for Mrs. Neiman's Geography 360 class. For my research topic, I've decided to speak about infertility rates and their influence upon our aging population in the United States. For my research topic, I formulated a research question. My question asks, has the downward spiral of America's birth rate helped to create an aging population? Since the onset of the recession in 2007, birth rates have continued to decrease substantially to this day. The United States is below the replacement level and has been continuing to follow this pattern for the past 10 years. This means that currently couples are not creating enough children to replace themselves in our populations. In 2016, the Central Intelligence Agency reported that the United States fertility rate was 1.87 children per woman. This marks the lowest historical average for fertility rates in the United States. As we all know, the baby boom era was a period known for remarkably high fertility rates. What we don't know is that fertility rates within the United States have dropped by nearly 50% since this baby boom era. During the baby boom of 1946 through 1964, there was a reported 76 million births inside the United States. At the peak of the baby boom, fertility rates were nearly 3.7 births per woman. That's a huge difference compared to today's averages. Due to large numbers of births during this time range known as the baby boom, there are now more people becoming senior citizens each day than ever before. From the years of 1900 to 2000, the population of people aged 65 and older increased by tenfold, growing from 3.1 million to 35 million. Currently, there are over 46 million people aged 65 and older. By 2060, this number is projected to double to over 96 million. Currently, 1 in 7 U.S. citizens are elderly. By 2030, more than 1 in 5 U.S. citizens will be elderly. Every year, the percentages of elderly throughout the year increases substantially. So what is causing this decrease in fertility? There are many causes of infertility that are both physical and mental. The physical characteristics that inhibit fertility are often obvious. However, we tend to overlook the mental aspects that affect our nation's fertility rates. There are also demographic, social, and economic factors that influence fertility. Unhealthy lifestyles and habits such as eating disorders, drug use, or heavy alcohol use severely negate the chance of having children. Certain medications and supplements, including anabolic steroids, also impact a person's likelihood to be fertile. What is causing this decrease in fertility? In order for a woman and woman to be able to produce a child, a man's sperm must be able to combine with a woman's egg. For a woman to become pregnant, they must have properly functioning ovaries, fallopian tubes, and a uterus. Males require proper ejaculatory and testicular function. There are numerous medical conditions, genetic disorders, and hormonal disorders that can inhibit the functioning of a person's reproductive organs. Exposure to high mental stress, high temperatures, chemicals, radiation, and heavy electromagnetic or microwave emissions may reduce a person's fertility. Infertility in women. Women often experience menopause later in life where ovarian function decreases. Ovarian reserves also diminish with age. 6.1% of women inside the United States, or 1 million women between the ages of 15 and 44, are unable to bear children after 1 year of unprotected sex. 12% of women inside the United States, or 7.5 million women, experience difficulty carrying a pregnancy or to term or becoming pregnant due to impaired fecundity. Infertility in men. Men are also affected by numerous medical conditions, genetic disorders, and hormonal disorders that can inhibit testicular or ejaculatory function. The most common issues that lead to infertility in men are problems that affect how the testicles work. Medical conditions such as diabetes, cystic fibrosis, autoimmune disorders, and certain types of infections may cause testicular failure. Genetic conditions such as Klinefelter syndrome can cause a man to never be able to produce sperm. The main cause of America's decrease in fertility. The main reason for America's decrease in fertility is the fact that more young adults are enrolling in school than ever before. Those who are more educated are expected to conceive children later in life and to have smaller families. High rates of unemployment from the recession of 2007 highlighted the importance of an education for our generation, which has in turn influenced delayed sexual activity and an increase in contraceptive access and use. Our generation is actually the most educated in United States history. As more young adults pursue higher education, they were also more likely to stay at home with their parents. Almost 40% of young adults were living with their parents, siblings, or other relatives in 2015, the largest percentage since 1940. Between 1990 and 2013, the birth rate among teens aged 15 through 19 has actually decreased by half. In 1990, 27 per 1,000 women aged 15 through 90 were mothers, compared to an average of 60 per 1,000 women in 1990. The main cause of America's decrease in fertility continued. Those who receive proper educations often decide to wait until later in life when they are more mature and financially stable enough to conceive children. As women reach maturity and begin to age, their chances of bearing children reduces every single year. A male's sperm count and capability of producing sperm is also affected as they age. States with the top educations: Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland. As you can see, all these states are in the northeast region of the United States, and they also all have among the lowest fertility rates. Economic conditions that influence birth rates. During the Industrial Revolution, children were often desired in order to fulfill their role in the labor force. Today, there is a much less importance upon children in the labor force after child labor laws have decreased their vitalness to our economy. Birth rates are often higher in rural areas compared to suburban areas because children are often needed at an early age to work on the farm, so families are often larger. The cost of higher education is continuously rising. The nation's average debt for public college students doubled between 1996 and 2006. Demographic conditions that influence birth rates. Those who live in urban settings are less likely to conceive children compared to those who live in rural environments due to the increased likelihood of availability of reliable birth control methods. The availability of abortion clinics also affects birth rates in regards to a demographic location. In 2013, for every 1,000 births that took place inside the United States, there were 200 abortions. Social conditions that influence birth rates. Women are starting to take over a growing share of the labor force. As females earn more education, they are more self-sufficient and less likely to marry and conceive children. And increased education correlates to marrying and having children later in life. As more and more women join the earning class of breadwinners, marital and childbearing decisions are more likely to be decided by the woman. This growing reliance upon a woman's work in our labor force could potentially help to further decrease fertility rates inside the United States. Religious belief, cultural norms, and traditions often impact a person's fertility. For instance, Utah has a large makeup of people that practice the Mormon faith. Mormons practice strict teachings against premarital sex, and therefore Utah has a low rate of fertility due to the large percentage of Mormons within the state. Effects of an aging population. Declining fertility and birth rates accompanied by increased life expectancy has created devastating consequences for the future of our country. The main effect of an aging population will be a shortage of workers within our workforce, as the flow of young people into the workforce slows right as the baby boom generation promises to enlarge the population of retirees. Due to being below the replacement level, as our country progresses with age, our workforce will dwindle, which will create an increase of wages and also price inflation for goods and services. Companies and firms will have to respond by spending more money on advertisements to encourage more people to enter the workforce. As the populations of elderly increase, there will be more people claiming pension benefits and less people working and paying income taxes due to our low levels of replacement. This increase of spending in healthcare and pensions will severely offset our nation's economy due to the fact that the elderly will tend to pay less taxes because they are normally not working. This offset will eventually cause our nation's Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid programs to crash, as these programs will be paying out more than what is coming in. As elderly populations increase, there will be a demand for more healthcare. Healthcare costs will soar, creating a demand upon the nation's national resources and healthcare expenditures. The number of working-age people available to support each retiree will decrease from just over 5 today to barely 3 by 2013, according to the Census Bureau. As the age structure within the United States changes, numerous cultural norms and stereotypes regarding the elderly will also change. The stereotypes regarding the elderly will worsen because there will be an increased burden upon those of a working age to provide the needs of the growing elderly population. Laws to protect the elderly will also have to be modified in order to accommodate for the 100% increase of elderly citizens by the year 2050. As percentages of elderly increases and the workforce decreases, our economy suffers. A 10% decrease in the fraction of the population ages 60% decreases the growth rate of GDP per capita by 5.5%. GDP is a measure of the average person's income in our country. By 2050, when every 1 in 5 citizen is a senior, marketing sectors and advertisements will be modified to target this age class and allow for a bigger market that supplies goods and services to the elderly. And these are my few sources that I used in order to formulate my research. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.